how to apply to medical school and a lot of really interesting stories. But first, please log in to follow us on Facebook, follow us on TikTok, on Instagram, on YouTube. Please, we need your followers so that we can continue this radio station. Síganos en Facebook and TikTok, síganos en todos y pónganos un like para poder continuar este programa. Mi nombre es María Maldonado, soy estudiante de medicina en mi segundo año y yo estaré hoy haciendo preguntas a mi amiga que le quiero mucho, se llama Tabitha. Today we're going to be asking Tabitha Paulette questions about her trajectory and what she's doing in medical school and how she got where she is. Tabitha is also a medical student. She's a second year. She did a summer internship in Harvard Medical School. She is the vice president of the Latino Medical School at our school. She's a co-mentorship of chair of a program called Fostering Empowered Minority Mindsets. So you can get an idea of how empowering this girl is, and I'm so happy to have her as my friend and work with her. Welcome, Tabitha. Thank you so much for doing this with us today.
Of course. Thank you so much for having me.
So can you tell us a little bit about yourself, your background, how you got here, and whatever you want to share, what you want the people to know about you?
Yeah, so I'm actually an immigrant from Peru, and I immigrated to this country with my parents and my grandmother, and we came to Paterson, New Jersey, and it's a very underserved area. So growing up, we didn't have a lot of people who actually wanted to pursue college, or who were not able to, who didn't have that chance to go to college. So at a young age, I knew that I wanted to do more, and it was very difficult not having parents who were familiar with the educational system here in the United States. But my parents are very hardworking immigrants. They worked very hard for me in order to focus myself on school and to dedicate myself to my studies. So I was able to go to a vocational high school, and that's where I was able to become certified as an EMT and gain some medical experience as a nursing assistant. And I was able to go to college at Rutgers, and I received a lot of financial need-based aid, and that's something very important too that a lot of people that are first generation aren't aware of. There's so many grants, so much aid, things that are offered to us because we do come from lower income households. And luckily, I was able to get into medical school. I took 2 gap years to try to build up my resume, and I'm here now.
Thank you so much for sharing that. So last time we talked about how difficult it is to get accepted into medical school and the small percentages of Hispanic matriculated students compared to all the people who apply. And today we're just bringing a little more information. So we know that about 2.4% of the entire medical field doctors, only 2.4 are Hispanic women. So that's a very small percentage. And that only speaks to you about how hard and how difficult it is to make it here. How were you able to surpass all the obstacles and the difficulties that you had to get where you are right now?
Yeah, it was definitely very difficult. Not having that many role models and that lack of diversity in healthcare as well. It was very difficult because I didn't see a lot of people that looked like me that were physicians. So I often thought, is this something possible? Like, can I do this? And it wasn't until I did a lot of summer pipeline programs, which is something that I always advocate for. That's something very crucial because through those summer pipeline programs that I did at the medical school that I currently go to, I was able to meet other medical students who came from similar backgrounds as me, who were also first generation students who had parents that, didn't make as much money. And they were the ones that were able to tell me, okay, this is what you should do to study for the MCAT. These are the connections that you should be making here. It's like extremely important to make connections when you are trying to pursue medicine and trying to go into medical school, because these are the people that will advocate for you. So I was able to meet a lot of mentors through these summer pipeline programs. And now in medical school, I have formed many relationships because I'm very active in LMSA, so the Latino Medical Student Association. And there's also pre-med organizations for that same organization called LMSA Plus. So a lot of schools have those chapters, and a lot of Hispanic students, I mean, Hispanic medical students, Hispanic physicians are involved. So having that inspiration and seeing that it is possible is what has motivated me.
Right, right. So we know that as first generation students applying to medical school, even applying to college, undergrad is very difficult. We don't have, a lot of us don't have parents who went to college, or sometimes we are the younger siblings and we don't have someone to help us. And it's really hard to find, the help. How can you, what is your advice on maybe the preparation a little bit for these pre-med students who are aspiring to become a doctor? And we can start with, what do you think, Juan?
So I think the journey isn't easy. I think with what Tab said a little bit earlier, the lack of representation of Latino physicians, I think, plays a huge role. From last episode, you guys know that I immigrated here, and I think not having those role models really plays a big role. So I think for someone that is looking to pursue a career in healthcare, I think being able to find mentors. And I think one of the things that Tab brought out is with certain programs that she got involved with, she was able to find certain mentors. And within those programs, you can find other colleagues that are in the same shoes. And I think you guys end up becoming and forming a little bubble of support for each other, and then bouncing off ideas. And I think with that, that helps to know, okay, they use this, for example, if it's like for studying for a certain exam, okay, they use this, let me do that. They got involved with this, maybe let me get involved with that. It's just, I guess, ideas.
Right.
So I hope I'm
Right.
answering.
No, that's great. Thank you so much. So also, so just really quickly, we just wanted to tell you. So to apply to medical school, you do 4 years of undergraduate school so that you get your bachelor's, and then you have to apply to medical school. And in that process, there are exams that you have to take. One of them being the MCAT. Can you tell us a little bit about how hard? Because for a lot of students, that becomes one of the biggest hurdles, especially when you come from minority backgrounds, when you come from very poor education systems. Even reading as a second language becomes very difficult. And that becomes one of the biggest roadblocks for a lot of people, one of the biggest fears. Can you tell us a little bit about how much it costs, when you think people should start preparing, and maybe the resources that they can use to get better prepared?
Yeah, I completely agree with everything that you said. I feel like it's definitely a huge roadblock. And I think something important to also like point out is that a lot of students are also able to go to community college and save money, and then transfer to a university and get their degree that way. Because I know sometimes it's not feasible for a lot of students to go to a 4 year university and can't afford it, or they just don't have the time, or they need to also work while trying to support their families. But yeah, when trying to study for the MCAT, I think it's very important to focus on doing practice questions. And something that I always talk about is the fee assistance program. And by applying to that program, you are able to get the MCAT prep for free. And you're also able to apply to 20 medical schools for free and receive a discount on the MCAT registration fees. So there's definitely lots of options there available for us in order to become doctors and get into medical school.
And I just want to say really quickly, I want to encourage everybody who wants to take this exam and it's not ready. Of course, take it when you are ready, but also find all the resources that you can. And if it didn't go well the first time, take it again, and always have hope that you will do well. Because a lot of people feel like if they don't do well one time, they're not going to do it. I took it several times, and I'm here, thank God.
Yeah.
And so I just want to make sure that people know that while this is a very difficult exam, and sometimes one of the biggest fears, it is not the end of the world. You can do it, and there's so many resources. There's so many programs. If you're an undergrad right now, you can apply to these NARA program, and they sometimes give you free summer programs to take MCAT courses. I don't know what your experience was, what you took.
I want to jump in. So I happen to be also in the boat that the MCAT was a difficult exam for me. I actually ended up having to take it twice. And one of the things is that I felt that gave me the difficulty was self doubt, so to say. I think that is one of the big obstacles is not believing that you're capable of doing it. I think um, for me at least, there was this idea that it's getting into medical school is tough to begin with, and I feel that not believing in yourself that you can't do it was a big obstacle for me that I needed to overcome. And once I finally was able to pass that hurdle, I think things became a little bit less foggy and more clear, and then a little bit more comfortable. And okay, I know I can do this. Let me try it. And even if you don't succeed the first time, you don't necessarily give up. You get back up, you figure out how it is that you can get past the hurdle, and you keep pushing and going.
Right. So you could talk to somebody that you know is taking it, study with people. It's important to focus, give it all you've got to this exam, but don't give up. Also, we can talk about the clinical experiences that you can have. So, for example, I did a little bit of I was a medical scribe in the trauma center. That's the kind of medical experience that I had. But I also bartended for almost 7 years before I applied to medical school. And my point is, you can translate those different skills that you have in other jobs to become something that you can use in the medical field, like interacting with people. Whatever you're doing at home, whatever jobs that you need to take for whatever reason, you can use and extract those skills to be useful. So I don't know, like what you guys think. I know you have a list of clinical experiences that people can, really good ideas that people can do as a pre-med.
Yeah, what Maria mentioned is so important. Like having diversity, and like doing other things like hobbies or jobs outside of medicine. That's also something super interesting because they will definitely bring that up during your interviews. But I guess in terms of gaining clinical experience, something that I constantly hear is obviously we don't have parents who have connections to other doctors in order for us to shadow them. So a job that I wanted to work as was also a medical scribe in the ER, and I was there for about 2 years during my gap years. And I was able to basically shadow doctors, attendings, and they truly built such a great connection with you. They love you because you're doing, you're writing their notes, you're allowing them to have more time with the patients. So I was able to like shadow doctors in that sense. And I also worked as an EMT. So having that direct clinical exposure, going to patients' houses, being able to learn all these clinical skills have definitely helped me a lot during medical school as well.
One thing I want to add in there is I think there's also this idea that everyone knows what they want to do when they get to college, what they want to become. I was kind of one of those that I didn't know what I wanted to do with my life. So I didn't start preparing for any MCAT, for getting any clinical experience, essentially to the last semester of college. And I was working in the financial industry for pretty much good amount of years. And it wasn't until I met with one of the mentors that I did with the summer program that they connected me to one of the deans in admissions, and she recommended, hey, you looking to become this? I think you are lacking in certain aspects. So she recommended me, and then I ended up also scribing as well. And I can speak great things about scribing. Essentially, kind of what Tab did is she did a good job. But my point is that it's never too late. So I hope that if there's anyone that's thinking, no, it's already too late for me, it's never too late. And specifically for me, at least working in the financial industry, I was able to see that just because I don't have anything medical related in finance, you actually build communication skills. And that's something that physicians do on an everyday basis. They actually have to talk to patients, being able to pick up on body language cues. So I think that in whatever field you might be in,
Right.
you look for certain
Right.
communicate or yeah.
Yeah, entonces nomás me voy a meter acá desde los controles. We're gonna just kind of say hi to Mayrien Riera. Solo si le saludamos. Dice, excelente show. María Gabriela, gracias por conectarse. Miguel Santos, we have a question. Dice, preguntando por una amiga, ¿cómo manejas el estrés? A ver si alguien le responde.
Yo pienso que todo el mundo tiene diferentes maneras de manejar el estrés y es importante que cada quien tome su espacio en responder. Para mí ha sido un poco difícil navegar esto del estrés, especialmente ahora porque la escuela de medicina ha sido muy fuerte y algo que yo nunca en mi vida he experimentado. A veces estar con mi familia es lo que me da más confort.
Si quieres, toma la tabla. Y luego yo la tomo.
Sí, igualmente pasando más tiempo con mi familia ahora que vivo con ellos me ayuda mucho con el estrés. Me distraigo con los perros que tenemos en la casa, cuando salimos a comer con mi familia. Es muy importante también tratar de tener amigos afuera de la escuela de medicina, porque así no tienes que estar hablando todo el tiempo de la medicina. Pero es difícil porque obviamente todos nuestros amigos cercanos están en la escuela de medicina. Pero a mí me gusta irme al gimnasio, so esa es mi forma de estresarme.
So, pero ¿qué pasa con la gente, Juan? ¿Qué pasa con la gente que no está en la escuela de medicina? ¿Cómo manejan el estrés la gente diaria que trabaja, que tiene un full
Mm,
time, un part time?
mm, mm.
Algo que yo puedo decir es, uno tiene que reflejar en qué tipo de apoyos uno tiene en la vida, si sea amigos, familia, tratar de buscar qué es lo que le trae a uno felicidad y siempre seguir haciendo las cosas que le gustan hacer, que a alguien le gusta hacer.
Definitivamente pienso que buscar un hobby, algo que te gusta hacer. Mucha gente va al gimnasio, Tabitha habló de ir al gimnasio, ella va mucho al gimnasio y eso le ayuda mucho. Correr, hacer cosas físicas, nos ayuda mucho. A veces la meditación también es muy importante para relajarse, para trabajar con el estrés, hablar. Mucha gente tiene pena de acudir a las terapias y eso a veces te trae es muy importante para tu salud mental. So, si usted tiene acceso, yo recomiendo mucho que hable con un terapista si es que es algo muy
Hay
necesario.
otra pregunta que nos mandaron por interno. ¿Es buena la medicina para el estrés? Los pastillas que se toman para el estrés.
Eh, yo puedo creo, responder eso. Sí y no. En el aspecto que pueda que es algo que lo necesites, pero no necesariamente es algo que sí lo tengas que tomar. Hay diferentes formas de reducir el estrés. La medicina creo que es algo que ayuda, pero no creo que necesariamente siempre te va a quitar el estrés. Entonces creo que no es algo que, bueno, tomé ya la pastica, entonces ya voy a estar sentirme bien. No creo que es la idea pensarlo así.
Vale. Y también saludamos otra vez a Mayrín Riera, dice María Gabriela, ella es muy sabia y siempre nos enseña cómo controlar el estrés. Gracias, Mayrín. Comparte con tus amigos, tus familiares. Nancy Ordóñez, felicidades, que los jóvenes son muy fuertes, dice. Ay, vale. Entonces, por favor, sigan compartiendo. Y vamos a seguir haciendo esta clase de programas y agradeciéndoles a los estudiantes también. ¿Cuál es otra pregunta que había? Yo creo que es la última. Oh, buena información, muchachos. No sé si les quieran decir gracias o algo.
Sí, muchísimas
Sí,
gracias.
muchas gracias.
Sí, por favor, si tienen más preguntas, pregúntenos. Estamos aquí para ustedes.
Esta pregunta está muy, muy buena. De hecho, sería bueno mencionarla. La estamos poniendo en pantallas. Orientación para los latinos que deseen venir a estudiar a Estados Unidos medicina. O sea, gente de afuera. ¿Cuál es la forma?
Bueno, eso depende porque, por ejemplo, si uno estudió para ser médico en otro país y si viene a este país, tiene que también tomar los exámenes que se llama Step 1 y Step 2 y hasta Step 3, creo, ¿verdad? Y eso es como un board exam para que le puedas comprobar a los Estados Unidos que puedes practicar medicina. Pero, por ejemplo, si todavía no has ido a la universidad, usted tendría que venir aquí a estudiar. Podría comenzar en el Community College, que es una opción que es un poquito más, que no es tan cara. Y así, después de ahí te transferirías a una universidad y conseguir tu bachelor's. Y después que tienes tu bachelor's, muchas personas pueden conseguir su bachelor en cualquier rama, pero es más fácil conseguirlo en biología porque ya estás tomando las clases que necesitas para aplicar para la escuela de medicina.
Sí, también si vienes a una universidad que hablan otro idioma, está requerido coger un examen que se llama TOEFL. Yo pienso que tienes que demostrar que tú eres proficiente en el lenguaje de inglés. Entonces requiere un poco de preparación, no solamente en el masterar el lenguaje, sino también de poderte preparar con los exámenes del Estado que son para las licencias que nosotros tenemos que tomar mientras estamos en la escuela, pero que les toca tomar a ustedes aparte. ¿Alguna otra pregunta que tenemos en línea? ¿No más preguntas? Ok. ¿Otra pregunta?
Sí, hay uno. Dice, felicidades María, ¿hay profesionalismo en sus respuestas? En este tiempo de pandemia, el estrés es común. Sus recomendaciones son muy buenas, gracias. En la pandemia se vio realmente todo el estrés que teníamos.
Sí, sí. Desafortunadamente vimos mucha gente que perdió mucho el control del estrés y esperamos que aprendamos más y compartir más de cómo podemos navegar ese problema porque es un problema muy grande aquí en Estados Unidos porque la vida va muy rápido, la gente trabaja mucho y la rutina a veces se hace muy estresante. Siguiendo más de nuevo, we're going back to the questions. I just want to talk a little bit about really quickly. So maybe I don't know if we're going to do it in English and Spanish, and I want to say this from the beginning. We're going to do a little bit of English and Spanish. So going back to the beginning, I know that there are a lot of students who don't really have resources, their parents didn't go to school, who feel like they might not have the resources. They are afraid to apply to medical school. What would you tell these students who feel like they're not rich? A lot of people have the misconception, if I'm not rich, I can't become a doctor. I don't have the money to pay for school. I don't have the money to pay for all these exams while I'm in school. I don't know where am I going to live? There's so many expenses. And a lot of people have this misconception that you have to be rich to become a doctor. What would you tell them? And then you can also chime in if you want.
Yeah, I definitely feel like it's an investment. And by the time you do graduate medical school, it's almost certain that you will have money. I mean, you will be making a salary. And although you won't be making as much as you would as an attending, you're still guaranteed a job. So in the long run, you will be able to pay off those loans. So even now, medical school, there are different grants, scholarships, so many things that are available in order to reduce those loans so you don't graduate so much debt. But I know the idea of debt is like super scary because you're like, oh my God, like I have all of this that I have to pay off. But you're able to pay it off. And again, there are other ways, like people sometimes even go to the military, serve a certain amount of years to reduce the debt. And even serving in specific communities, you can also reduce your debt that way.
Wonderful. Really quickly, I just want to say something. So I just want to thank Tabitha for all of this she does, and she's amazing. Also, because she has been able to do all these community service and talk to people and be part of a lot of programs in our school, which by the way is really hard because school itself is really difficult. But also she has been able to use her platform, her TikTok, to motivate people, to give advice to students. And she has grown her following to over 10,000 people. And we're so proud of her. Can you tell us a little bit about your TikTok and how that helps you and how you use that to motivate people?
Yeah, I honestly started it off because I never saw any like people on social media that were medical students that looked like me. I would always constantly search up like Hispanic medical students or like, I don't know, Latino medical students. And it's because we have a different upbringing, we have different backgrounds, so we have different struggles that a lot of other people might not relate. So that's why I decided to start my TikTok account. And through that, I've been able to give advice to minority medical or minority pre-med students, people that who also come from low-income backgrounds, who are first-generation students. And it's just important to bring awareness.
Yeah, thank you so much because I know that everybody is always watching and looking for plays, and a lot of people resonate with that message that you sent because a lot of us sometimes feel like it's not possible, and I'm so thankful that you are the face to let people know that if they work hard enough, they can do it. Also, one more question. So, esta va a ser en español. Algunos padres no se han graduado de la universidad o no tienen título, no tienen trabajos. Hablamos de esto la otra vez.
Sí.
Trabajos muy humildes que nosotros estamos muy orgullosas porque sabemos que este país depende de esos trabajos, nosotros dependemos de esos trabajos, pero muchas veces esos padres piensan que no tienen lo suficiente para dar consejos a sus hijos o para motivarlos. ¿Qué tú les puedes decir a esos padres?
Yeah, es muy importante tener el apoyo emocional. Mis padres me han ayudado mucho con eso, porque había muchas veces que yo pensé, no puedo ser doctora, es muy difícil, y mi mamá siempre me decía, no, tú lo puedes hacer, siempre me daba coraje. Ella nunca me dijo, oh, no eres inteligente, no lo puedes hacer. Y creo que teniendo ese apoyo de mis padres me han ayudado mucho y por eso es que estoy aquí, porque trabajaron muy duro para que yo pudiera enfocarme en mis estudios. Y como les dije, el apoyo emocional es muy importante. Eso no deben de decirle a sus hijos, oh, no pueden hacer eso, no, porque no tienen conexiones, porque no somos doctores, no pueden ser doctores. Eso no es verdad. Mis padres aquí, como dijo María, no trabajando por sus esfuerzos, no son doctores, pero igual yo he podido lograr esto y es gracias a su ayuda, su apoyo de mi familia.
Sí, sí, es verdad totalmente. Sin el apoyo de mis padres, yo puedo decir confidentemente que yo no pudiera estar donde estoy y no pudiera haber hecho nada de lo que he podido hacer hasta ahora. Una pregunta, sabiendo tan difícil lo que es la escuela and how hard everything is, what motivates you? What drives you to keep going?
Yeah, knowing that I'm going to be one of the few, Hispanic women physicians in this country is something that motivates me because we definitely need more diversity in medicine. And, also coming from a background where my grandmother unfortunately passed away from cervical cancer, and she was someone extremely important to me. And, she came to this country, left everything behind in order to help my parents raise me. So when she passed away, it was something very difficult for our family. And knowing that her cancer could have been prevented with, pap smear is something that really struck out to me. And I just want to try to send this message out to other people and try to prevent another death that, like my grandmother's. So that's why it's important to always talk to underserved communities and remind them how important it is to try to get your yearly physical and your preventative screenings as well.
Right. So before we close, we want to remind everybody who's watching y queremos acordar a todo el mundo que está viéndonos que ahora vamos a hablar, cada mes vamos a tener un tópico de cáncer y este mes ha sido del cáncer cervical, the cervical cancer, that's the abnormal growth of cells, el crecimiento de células malignas en el cervix, que está casi al lado del área vaginal, y que hay exámenes que se pueden hacer cada cierto tiempo y vacunas que se pueden usar para prevenir. ¿Qué nos puedes decir un poco de eso? What can you tell us a little bit about how you can prevent this and how important it is for people? Maybe you could just tell me really quickly and then we can go.
Yeah, so I think it's important. So one of the first things I think, if it's questions, that I think it's very important that you just discuss this with your doctor, either your primary, your gynecologist. I think that one of the first things is that cervical cancer. A lot of the times, it's thought that it's obtained via genetics, meaning passed down from mom, down to your daughter. And I think it is possible, but there are other reasons for why cervical cancer happens. More specifically, there's a virus that is responsible for a lot of the cases.
Mm-hmm.
I think there are also, or not I think, there are preventative screening methods, which are pap smears. And that's something that it's used to detect if there is any abnormal growths quicker rather than later. Because the later something is found, the more treatment might be required, which might require aggressive treatment. So the preventative stuff are there to detect things earlier and prevent things from disastrous things happening later on.
Right. So you want to talk a little bit about the vaccine maybe and how important that is?
Do you mind if I say it in Spanish?
Of course, yeah, please.
So es muy importante que, las mujeres que tenemos 21 años o menor, que se tienen que vacunar. Y a partir de los 21 años tienen que conseguir una cosa que se llama el Papa Nicolau, y usted debe de hablar con su doctor para ver en cuánto tiempo tienen que conseguirlo, porque dependiendo si tienes 21 años hasta 29 años, lo tendrías que sacar como cada 3 años y es un examen, pero a partir de los 30 años ya comienzas a tener como 2 exámenes y lo puedes hacer cada 5 años, pero como le dije, esto es algo que tienes que hablar con tu doctor y preguntarle, pero la cosa más importante es conseguir su Papa Nicolau, irse a su doctor, hacer su chequeo físico, porque así usted puede detectar cualquier cáncer antes que se ponga maligno.
Sí, y además de eso también, antes de los 21 años es recomendado que si usted tiene niñas, les vacunen, hable con su doctor sobre esta vacuna. Es muy importante porque esta es la manera más eficiente de prevenir este cáncer. Y también chequearse, los chequeos, como Tabata, es lo más importante. Por favor, no fallen en su chequeo, hable con su doctor. Si es que usted no tiene acceso a seguro, puede llamar a los hospitales y hablar con ellos y pedir. Hay muchos recursos y hay muchas clínicas que dan pap smears que son gratis, papas nicoladas que son gratis en ciertas ocasiones del año, y usted debería estar pendiente. Si usted no puede pagarlo, si no tiene seguro, por favor no falle esto, porque esto es muy importante y puede prevenir una tragedia, sí. Estamos muy contentos de tener esta oportunidad de compartir con todos ustedes. Muchas gracias por abrir su espacio en esta noche y gracias por terminar el año con nosotros. Yo estoy muy contenta, muy agradecida con Tabitha, con Juan. Yo sé que no podríamos hacer esto sin ellos. Muchas gracias a Jorge y espero que el mes que venga podemos reunirnos otra vez y tener más tópicos. Por favor, hagan sus preguntas. Muchas gracias por tenernos aquí. Gracias por seguir a Radio Jornalera y síganos más. Tabitha puede despedirse si quiere.
Ya, muchas gracias a todos que están aquí escuchándonos y gracias por darnos ese espacio para hablar sobre el cáncer y por dejarme hablar de mi journey aquí para la Escuela de Medicina. Y no se olviden que ustedes pueden lograr lo que quieren. Y yo sé que es un poquito difícil para hacerse médico, pero sí vale la pena porque cuando puedes irte al cuarto del paciente y usted sabe hablar español, el paciente sabe que se puede conectar con usted. Entonces eso es algo que es tan importante y puedes salvar tantas vidas.
Sí, yo también le quiero dar gracias de María, de Jorge, del radio, de darnos la oportunidad de estar aquí el día de hoy. Como dijo Taba, creo que es realmente muy importante poder ser médico y también poder ser médico hispano para poder conectarse con los pacientes, para poder darles la confianza de que tengo a alguien que me vaya a poder entender, saber lo difícil que es, no puedo tener siempre dinero, cómo puedo hacer, puedo ir a ver el médico, alguien que lo entienda. Entonces creo que es muy importante. Y por favor síganos, el apoyo es muy muy importante.
Vale,
muchas gracias.
Entonces vamos a nomás a agradecer a Jimmy Riera.
Hi, Jimmy.
Felicidades, Gabriela, Marí Riera también, muy buena información. Y les vamos a agradecer a todos los que están conectados, han estado escuchando este live. También vamos a ponerlo en YouTube, en Spotify, en Instagram, en Twitter, en todo donde quiera que vean, TikTok, en todos lados. Entonces les quiero hacer una pregunta para ya ir cerrando. ¿Cómo van a celebrar el fin de año? ¿Cómo celebran en Perú, en Ecuador y en Colombia?
Bueno, me gustaría que estaba en Perú porque en Perú quemamos los muñecos.
Sí,
¿ustedes también?
Sí.
¿Queman quién? ¿A los viejos o a los monigotes?
No, armamos
a los que nos caen mal, ¿no?
También.
A los políticos.
Hace muñecos de los políticos también.
Sí, es muy
¿Y en Ecuador? Pero ¿y aquí cómo vas a celebrar?
Mi familia se va a reunir, vamos a tener una fiesta, bailar mucho. Estamos tratando de inventarnos cómo nos hacemos un muñeco para quemarle, pero más que seguro que no va a pasar. Sí pasa, maybe. Y mi tío se va a vestir de la viuda, porque dicen que la viuda supuestamente es la viuda del que le van a quemar. Y estoy muy contenta. Tienen que ver a mi tío.
Es súper interesante porque se visten los hombres de mujeres y me encanta esa parte.
Sí, es muy interesante. Vamos a poner fotos y que vean.
Vale, ¿y en Colombia, Juan? ¿Cómo se celebra?
En Colombia se celebra lo que sea, nos emborrachamos y celebramos el año nuevo.
O las uvas.
También las uvas, bueno, también cogemos lentejas, le ponemos un poquito de lentejas, lo ponemos en el bolsillo y es para, la idea es de traer prosperidad y todo. Algo que nosotros hacemos en la familia es los reunimos aquí y lo celebramos entre familia, nos damos gracias de poder tener otro año más de vivir, desear un nuevo año de salud, estar en familia. Y es así, sí. Más que todo algo en familia lo que hacemos.
Qué chévere.
Y si usted es un hombre, tiene que dar un beso a una mujer. Y si es mujer, tiene que dar un beso a un hombre para que le dé el amor todo el año.
Esa está una buena recomendación directamente de los compañeros. Bueno, yo les quiero dar las gracias porque este programa ha sido el segundo y está teniendo muy buena acogida. Muchas gracias por también confiar en nosotros. Un fuerte abrazo para todos y todas y todes. Muchas gracias a ustedes por tomarse el tiempo de voluntarizar y venir acá a informar. La única forma de nosotros creer en un mundo diferente, en un mundo mejor, es dando un poquito de arena, un granito de arena a la comunidad de donde nosotros salimos. Así que muchas gracias por inspirar y ténganlo por seguro que aunque una persona escuche y se inspire en ser doctor, ya estamos haciendo un cambio. Así
Sí,
que les
es verdad.
mandamos un fuerte abrazo, muchas gracias.
Muchas
Esto es
gracias.
Radio Jornalera, el último programa del año de Jorge Terreros. También les mandamos un fuerte abrazo, un feliz año nuevo.
Gracias.
Somos el vínculo para educar, empoderar y organizar a las comunidades migrantes. Queremos defender nuestros derechos civiles y humanos. Si eres estudiante, jornalero, trabajadora doméstica o te interesa conocer más sobre tus derechos, síguenos en nuestras diferentes plataformas. Somos Radio Jornalera New Jersey.